Random J Productions presents the Palm Summer League. Today, we're here at the Meadowlands Speedway in New Jersey for the running of the John Deere Father's Day Classic. Just across the river from the Big Apple, 35 are racing's best drivers, all ready and set for racing on this sunny Father's Day afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Josh, your commentator for today's race. It is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Meadowlands, a place here in Jersey that has provided plenty of sports memories. And today, we are just moments away from potentially adding another iconic memory of our own. So far, for our first two races here this summer in the Palm Summer League, we've had two different winners, with both of them happening to be first-time channel winners. For our most recent, coming from Las Vegas, Bubble Pop in the 18. Her win last week came in just her second ever channel start after a daring late race move, as she went 3 wide for the lead late in the race at a track that's more narrow compared to the 1.5 miles. A win here today for the new points leader could prove to be a deciding factor for the championship, especially if the tracks lined up for the second half of the summer. Then there's our two drivers making up the front row, which so happens to be the two drivers that finished in the top 3 in last year's Father's Day Classic in California. First, starting with pole sitter, the 88 of Anthony Hernandez. Despite the 2021 Golf Summer Series champion being one of the favorites to win here today and being in a solid position in points, Anthony's looking to break a 3-year-long winner streak on this channel, dating all the way back to his GSS win at Talladega. And the pole position in a track position heavy track like this could help put this channel veteran back in victory lane. And lastly, there's a driver starting right next to him on the outside pole, that being the 31 of Roberto Jr. Crown has had a rather lackluster start to the summer so far, but the driver of the 31 was a contender during last year's Father's Day Classic, finishing 3rd at the similar size and track type at California. In addition, he also has the RC Motorsports equipment to contend up front, who, by the way, won last year's Father's Day Classic with Kyle Salmon. But before we find out who will come out on top here today, let's first take a look at our starting lineup and pre-race ceremonies. So as previously covered, on the front row are the drivers who finished 2nd and 3rd during last year's Father's Day Classic, the 88 car Anthony Hernandez and the 31 of Roberto Jr. Row 2, Dylan Matthews in the 49 and the 19 of Kyle Sustry. Row 3, Jason Albert in the 84 and next to him the defending PSL champion Brendan Beal in the 37. Row 4, 2-time channel champion Ryan Wilson, and next to him is his teammate and car owner, the 1 car of Alex Mullen. Row 5, another former Golf Summer Series champion, Kellen Baker in the 21, and next to him the rookie of Jack Haas in the 57. Row 6, the 17 of Dan Mattiello, and the 45 of Ross McTrain. Row 7, Matthew Burnett in the 2, and the 97 of Nathan Stapleton. In row 8 is car number 8, Joe T, and next to him, Las Vegas winner and current points leader, Bubble Pop in the 18. Row 9, Madison Chase in the 06, and next to her, the winner from Tennessee in the summer kickoff, Jose Angel Gutierrez. Row 10, Riley Spurley in the 28, and the 40 of Nick Sant. Row 11, Alex Santavala in the 99, and the 59 of Caleb Rose. Row 12, Matthew Hill and Brad Ream in the 6. Row 13, Random J in the 53 and the 01 of Daniel Voiles. Row 14, Patrick Miller and the 9 of Lipsy. Row 15, Johnny Hernandez in the 46 and the 24 of Keyshawn Richardson. Row 16, the 41 of Philip Torres and the 61 of Jordan Forbes. Row 17, Skylar Taylor in the 29, and Braden Carruthers in the 20. And finally, in row number 18, is the 11 car, Jordan Stout. Taking a look at the track info here for today's race, we're going to go 30 laps on this roughly 2-mile long steak-shaped track. Really hard to describe, but anyways, this roughly 2-mile long track also has 8 to 15 degrees of progressive banking in the turns. And as for the weather here today in East Rutherford, 81 degrees Fahrenheit with 9 miles per hour towards the southwest. And as you can see, our past Father's Day Classic winner, Kyle Salmon in 2023, driving for RC Motorsports at California, which is a very similar size to this track. And now it's time to see who the number bot thinks is going to win here today. And it looks like it's going to choose number 90, Matthew Hill, who's going to start 23rd. And in fact, Matthew Hill is one of only 3 drivers in the entire field, with the other 2 being Bubble Pop and Dylan Matthews, as the only drivers in the entire field to finish just at the top 2 during our first 2 races this year. And now it's time for a pre-race ceremony, starting with the national anthem. And now it is time for the most famous words in motorsports here in the Meadowlands.
Drivers, start your engines.
Now, of course, with today being Father's Day, it's only fitting to talk to one of the fathers here in today's field. Hey, Johnny, Josh up in the booth, got a copy?
Yes, sir, dude. How you doing?
Doing good. Haven't had the best start to the summer so far, but what's your plan for you and this team to get back on track?
Well, sounds like we got to win some races or get some better finishes. Car's not doing very good. We had a DNF. We're just taking it day by day, and we're gonna keep running every week, week to week.
Man, sounds good. Have fun out there. Happy Father's Day. Have some fun.
Thank you very much. You have a good one too. Happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. Now, of course, during the pre-race, I briefly mentioned East Rutherford / the Meadowlands sporting history. Everything from football, basketball, hockey, horse racing, and now for the first time ever, the cars and stars of the Palm Summer League, with the sold-out crowd all on their feet, ready to see Hernandez and Crown lead the field to grade here in the Father's Day Classic. Looks like Crown did not get the best of starts, as he's going to hold up the rest of the outside lane off turn number 2. As his inside lane is fast approaching, here's Dylan Matthews now looking at the inside of Hernandez for the lead. So Kellen Baker, 3-1 of Alex Mullen, and I believe Kyle Such tries. Matthews is still side by side of Hernandez. Here's Albert now as I say that, going 3-wide on both drivers through turns 3 and 4. And that move from Matthews is going to force both those drivers to the outside. Here's Ryan Wilson down the middle, 3-wide of Hoodlum and Baker. Lots of throw-out action already throughout the entire field here in the Meadowlands, but coming to lap number 1 is just Albert leading the way, with Dylan Matthews in second and Kellen Baker in third. Now, of course, Albert has been racing on this channel pretty much ever since the very beginning, since the first Golf Summer Series. He has still yet to win a single race on this channel, and if either he or Matthews could win this race for that matter, it could continue that trend here in the PSL of first-time channel winners. You know, of course, Kellen Baker in third is the former Golf Summer Series champion, and as for the other two golf champions of Wilson and Hernandez, they're both on the outside of the lane trying to maintain their spots through turns 3 and 4. There's a bit of contact between the two champions as now Hernandez gets turned right in front of Joe T. He's going to go around and come back onto the track for the tour. It's going to be a huge wreck. Random, Beal, Gutierrez, and others involved as now Hernandez is on his roof barrel rolling several times. And just like that, Hernandez went from being on the pole to being on his roof. And this wreck is going to take out several big-name drivers. Brendan Beal, Random J, Gutierrez, Keyshawn Richardson, Caleb Rose, Madison Chase, just so many big names all out of this race on just lap number 2. And we're going to take a look at the instant replay to find out what exactly caused easily our biggest wreck of the Palm Summer League this season so far. So all this started going into turn number 3. The 3 cars to watch on your screen is the 48 of Ryan Wilson, the 88 of Anthony Hernandez, and the 8 car Joe T. So watch here. Joe T maintains the inside. Hernandez looks to the inside of Wilson, but then the 2 touch, causing both Hernandez and Joe T to spin out. But then once Hernandez comes back onto the track, this is where it starts to get really, really big. All those poor drivers on the outside, nowhere to go. With Hernandez on his roof, barrel rolling several times in an 88. And then as that happens, watch Braden Carruthers trying to go down pit road to avoid, but then all 3 of those cars, if Richardson, Carruthers, and Rose hit the wall, then Richardson, for whatever reason, gets turned by Carruthers. Not really sure what was that all about, but Richardson's car, regardless, is destroyed. Now let's take this at a better angle. So you can see Hernandez just is leaning in on Wilson's left rear. Definitely some contact there, but then as these 2 drivers move down, both the 88 and 8 car start to go for a spin off turn number 3 and going into turn number 4. So we see Joe T spinning out towards the middle of the track. Hernandez now outside the track towards the apron. My goodness, Roberto Crown barely avoids the spinning car of Joe T. But then this is where it starts to get really big. See, Random having absolutely nowhere to go, hits Joe T in the 8 car. And as Hernandez comes back onto the track, the first car to hit him is Phil Torres in the 41. He had absolutely nowhere to go. Caleb Roosevelt in the 59. And it was just basically on from there. There's just so many big names involved in this. Brendan Beal having nowhere to go as well. Nathan Stapleton. See, Nick Sant barely avoiding, going in between both Jordan Stout and Madison Chase. And then as Holden comes back on the track, he goes on his roof and goes flipping several times. Second time in just 3 races, we've had a flip here in the PSL. Now let's go on board with Ryan Wilson here to see his point of view. So you see Hernandez just barely tapping Wilson's back end, and then the 88 comes down on the 8 car since both of them spinning. And speaking of which, let's go on board with Joe T. Yeah, once Hernandez came down on the 8 car, not much he could have done. It was just a long for the ride at this point. On board with Brendan Beal. So he tries to go to the outside, but which is not enough to avoid Joe T. Bam! Hard hit for Beal. Tough break for the defending series champion for sure. And finally, let's go on board with Anthony Hernandez. Just barely touched Wilson on his left rear, but him coming down in front of Joe T is what really did him. And then here's the flip. Oh my God! But there goes one of our cameras once again for the second time this season. We've lost one of our cameras here in one of these flips. But anyways, we're already under caution here in the Meadowlands for this massive lap number 2 wreck. We'll be right back for you guys after this. Welcome back to the John Deere Father's Day Classic here in the Meadowlands. We're about to check back green after a massive wreck through turns 3 and 4 on just lap number 2. And so many drivers, in fact, were involved in that wreck. It would be easier to mention who wasn't involved. But 26 on down are all out of this race. 11 out of the 35 drivers that showed up to this race here today are all out of this race before lap number 10. Absolutely unfathomable, and it's so big, in fact, because so many big names were involved in that wreck that this could potentially alter the entire course of this Palm Summer League Championship at just the halfway point here this summer. But anyways, as for the drivers who are still in one piece, Jason Albert in 84 is your leader, followed by the 49 of Dylan Matthews, Kellen Baker in the 21, the 1 car of Alex Mullen, and the 45 of Ross McTrain. Let's just hope and pray that these drivers can maintain a long green flag run. Hopefully, there won't be any major wrecks for the rest of this race, but we're back on the green here in the Meadowlands. Lap number 7 and 30 this time by. Dylan Matthews got a strong restart on the outside lane, but here's Kellen Baker now going 3 wide into turns 1 and 2. Almost like deja vu from the last race at Las Vegas, but Baker's going to take advantage of that run and clear both Albert and Matthews off turn number 2. But Matthews has all over the back bumper that 21 down the back straightaway as we're once again 3 wide throughout the entire field. This is almost like pack-style racing at this intermediate track. So Wilson goes to the wall, and Jack Haas with Riley Spurley going for a spin as well. And this will not bring the caution out. Spurley gets back going. And there you see the damage on both the left and also the right side of Ryan Wilson's car. It looks like turns 3 and 4 are going to strike again. Turns 3 and 4 here is very similar to something like Indianapolis. And it has so far proven to be very treacherous on just the first 8 laps of this race. It looks like that time by Matt Fournette actually took the lead from Kellen Baker as he got forced up to the outside. As on Bradley Ream is side by side with Ross McTrain as we continue down the back straightaway. Meanwhile, going into 3, Bradley will clear Baker for 4th. With Ream now side by side of McTrain through turn number 3 and actually clear him as Bradley was quickly moving up in that 6 car. Off with the lead, Crown is all over the back bumper of Burnett. And there you see Ryan Wilson once again coming down pit road. As on the right side of your screen, you got a replay to see what exactly happened. So in the 3, I think Bradley maybe got into Jack Haas a little bit and collected Wilson and Spurley as a result. Taking this one up above. Oh yeah, Bradley got into Haas, sent him into Wilson, and Spurley tried to avoid, but gets into the left rear of Haas and sends the 28 car spinning. And honestly, I would not be surprised if all 3 of those drivers have some choice words for Bradley after this race, as all 3 of them probably have to come down pit road at some point to assess any damage and are probably out of contention to win here today. But this battle for the lead will continue between Burnett and Crown due turns 3 and 4. Crown opting to go to the outside and clearing Max Burnett for the lead. And if you ask me, I think Burnett maybe got very tight going into that corner, and now he could potentially lose the top 5 as McTrain's going to go around the 2 car with Matthews and TrackTribe fast approaching as well, coming to lap number 10. Yeah, Max Burnett's probably going to lose the top 5. It gets tight again going into turn number 1 there, as now your top 4 is going to consist of Roberto and Crown, who of course started this race in 2nd. Brad Ream still in 2nd, Ross McTrain in 3rd, and Dylan Matthews now tucking in the 4th off turn number 2 and down the back. Meanwhile, Burnett is desperately trying to hang on inside the top 5. He's currently side by side of Alex Mullen for that final top 5 spot as we go into turns 3 and 4. It's all off 3. We're 4 wide this time with Jordan Stout and Santa Val in the middle, while Mullen and Matt Teal make up the outside and inside. And Mullen looks like he'll be the biggest loser of that as he's moved a lot of ground in the 1 car, and that's going to hold up the drivers behind him like Patrick Miller and Nick Sand, while the other drivers on the inside like Skylar Taylor and Johnny Hernandez are going to get around Mullen with ease. Meanwhile, on the turn number 1, Burnett is still losing ground. He's now losing even more ground. He's going to check up way up high in the outside lane, and once again, it's going to affect the other drivers on the outside lane, including Bubble and Alex Mullen again. Now, if I had to guess, there has to be some sort of major issue on Burnett's car. I mean, you don't go from the lead to below the top 20 in just in the span of 3 laps every day. There has to be some sort of major issue. If I had to guess, potentially he lost a gear, something is broke, something has to be going very wrong on that 2 car. But anyways, as you go back up to the front, your top 5 is remain pretty much the same. Crown 1st, Ream 2nd, McTrain 3rd, Matthews 4th, and TrackTribe 5th. With Albert 6th, Santa Val 7th, Matt Cielo 8th, Lipsy 9th, and Matthew Hill 10th. As looks like Matthew Burnett's going to be scored in the 22nd position. First from 22nd in the span of what? 9 or 5 laps? Just absolutely wild. Whatever issue it is, I wouldn't be surprised if Burnett comes down pit road for the next few laps or so. Just tough break for, oh, Kellen Baker as well. What is going on? Another big name driver with potential mechanical issues. Oh, here Baker lost one of his gears. Oh my goodness, 2 big name drivers going from the top 10 to below the top 20 in not even 5 laps of one another. Unbelievable. And as we're on board with Radu, who's quickly closing in on Crown for the lead. It looks like according to the scoring, Baker's currently in the 21st position. Just, wow, I've never ever seen this in my life. 2 big name drivers, both having mechanical problems within not even, 3 laps of one another. Just unreal. There probably is going to be some type of investigation from PSL officials to determine what in the hell is causing all of this. And now here he is. Here's Baker down pit road. And we are confirming that Baker did indeed lose his 4th gear last time by, as that entire last lap he was stuck on 3rd gear. Really tough break for not even both Baker, but also Matthew Burnett. Just nothing they could have, absolutely nothing they could have done, and this will surely drop both drivers down in the point standings as you head into Firecracker week as well as the second half of the summer. Anyways, as for the race up front, I see Brad Ream going into turn number 3, trying to hold off Ross McTrain for 2nd. Looks like Ream's able to do so, and going into turn number 4 to take over the lead, but Crown's going to move down to the inside and maintain his advantage over the 6th car, as now here's Dylan Matthews looking to the inside of McTrain as she looks to take over 3rd. But as we come to lap number 15 with Crown still in the lead, it's time for another edition of Palm Summer League Crank It Up. It's lap number 1903 here in the John Deere Father's Day Classic. Currently, your leader is still Roberto Crown Jr. in the 31. Of course, Crown did start this race on the outside pole, but it took him until lap number 10 to actually take the lead. And ever since then, the 31 has not looked back, but this race is still far from over. With Brad Ream and Ross McTrain second and third respectively, still hot in his heels, coming to 11 laps to go this time by. As for some of the other drivers, instead the top fighters remain mostly unchanged so far. Kyle Sush-Try in 4th, Jason Albert in 5th, Alex Anthem 6th, Dan Mattiello 7th, the 9 car of Lipsy's in 8th, the 90 of Matthew Hill is in 9th, while Skylar Taylor into 29 rounds off the rest of the top 10. Now, of course, this race has seen its fair share of big-name drivers have some issues, as here's a battle for second. McTrain getting around Bradley Ream off turn number 3, forcing the 6 car to the outside. It looks like Sush-Try is going to go with McTrain into turn number 4. It looks like McTrain will clear Ream for second. Sush-Try being side by side with the 6 car, coming to 10 laps to go. Now, of course, since we completed over 20 laps into this race, that means the pit window is officially open. And of course, with this pit window being very late into this race, these pit stops and where everyone's going to cycle will decide this race, barring a late race caution. So despite Crown having a healthy lead over McTrain and the rest of his top 5, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to really matter, as all these leaders, probably for the next lap or two, all come down pit road and do their pit stops that will decide the course of this race. But for now, as we come off turn number 4 once again, we come to 9 laps to go, with Crown maintaining the lead, with the top 5 remaining pretty much the exact same. So we do got one driver down pit road, that's the 01 of Daniel Voiles. Now, up until this point, Voiles was in the 18th position and is trying to potentially undercut the rest of these leaders, as they have still yet to come down. And now on board the back bumper with Roberto Crown, off turn number 2, as last time by, a quarter of a second, separated both McTrain and Crown. So McTrain is catching him. Last time by, McTrain was just under 0.4 of a second behind Crown. But again, that's not going to really matter during this portion of the race, as these leaders are set to come down pit road at any moment. And here's Crown coming well. Yep, here we go. Your race leader, Roberto Crown, is in. McTrain stays out. And it's looking like Crown's going to be the only driver in this entire top 5 to actually come down pit road, of the only other driver even following him being the 20 of Braden Carruthers. You know, I see Daniel Voiles just now exiting pit road. Remember, he was the first driver to come down pit road to kickstart this entire cycle. And we're going to have to wait and see if undercutting the rest of these leaders was the right strategy or not for the L1 team. Now, of course, because Crown went down pit road, Ross McTrain is now scored as your new leader. With Sush-Try up to second and Albert up to third. And it's very likely that these group of drivers will be, I guess, the third group of drivers down pit road, because Voiles was first, then Crown, and more than likely the rest of this top 5. And yep, here we go. See McTrain ducking down low, as well as Jason Albert, and it's looking like that more drivers will join both McTrain and Albert. And you can see Santaval's in, Lipsy's in, Bradley Ream, Dan Mattiello, Hernandez, Matthew Hill, Jordan Stout, a lot of drivers who are either towards the middle or even the back of the pack, all joining the rest of these leaders down pit road, as they're pretty much trying to salvage anything they can get late in this race, just trying to follow the leader and see and just hope for the best here. So you can see Crown back onto the racetrack, Braden Carruthers as well, as Kyler Sush-Try, that time by legit leader. Now, of course, since both McTrain and Sush-Try led the last 2 laps, they will get a bonus point for leading a lap, and this being a shorter series, every single point will count. And hey, who knows? By the end of this year, if they're in this championship picture, that 1 point could mean the difference. And speaking of which, Sush-Try is down pit road. Kellen Baker, who's of course a lap down, lost a gear earlier, is down pit road. While Skylar Taylor stays on another lap, as they will lead lap number 24. There'll be 6 laps to go here in the Meadowlands. Now, as you can see on the bottom of your screen, these third group of drivers that are led by McTrain and Albert are now coming back onto the track, as it looks like McTrain will actually beat Roberto Crown back onto the racetrack. And providing if Skylar Taylor doesn't change up the rest of this running order, is potentially going to be Ross McTrain first, Roberto Crown Jr., the dominant driver today, down to second. Santaval is now up to third. And as for some of the other drivers also up here, Lipsy in the 9 car 4th, Braden Carruthers, despite getting involved during a lap 2 crash, is up to 5th, Bradley Ream 6th, Albert 8th, Jordan Stout 9th, with Mattiello running off the rest of this tentative top 10. You see Skylar Taylor finally coming down pit road. Now, of course, this can obviously change with both Sush-Try as well as Patrick Miller coming back onto the racetrack as whoa! Sush-Try got split 3 wide with Santaval and the lap car Baker as he came back onto the track there. And unfortunately, with both Lipsy and Carruthers getting around to 19, this is going to mean that Sush-Try is going to cycle out below the top 5. And we're going to see where Miller's going to cycle out. He's going to probably cycle up behind Stout. Now, besides Baker, who I already mentioned is a lap driver, another lap car also up here is a 57 of Jack Haas. And in fact, both Haas and Baker are keeping up pace with the rest of the leaders, and they could potentially affect this race for the win here in the closing laps in the Meadowlands. Now, of course, barring any late race caution, or if Crown does catch back up with the 45, McTrain's in a very, very good spot to get his first ever channel win. You saw there Skylar Taylor coming out of pit road. They're probably going to cycle out towards the mid-teens, so unfortunately pitting late didn't really look out for that 29 team. But for McTrain and that 45 team, pitting a lap after Crown was seemingly the correct strategy. But this race is still far from over, as Crown is slowly but steadily catching back up. And if he does, we could perhaps see a very, very exciting race between both the 45 and the 31, but time is quickly running out for Crown to catch back up as we come to 4 laps to go this time by. And as we're on board with Crown going into turns 1 and 2, last time by, the gap between both the 45 and the 31 was less than 0.4 of a second. Crown is definitely there, but he just has to hope Jack Haas gets out of the way. And I'd imagine if you're Crown, or even some of the fans watching right now, that Haas just simply moves out of the way and just let these two leaders race for the win. Speaking of lap traffic, here's Kellen Baker looking the inside of Santa Vala, who's currently in 3rd. Again, Baker's a lap car, lost a gear earlier in this race. Pierce had that problem somewhat fixed, got around Santa Vala with ease that time by, so that 21 car could also potentially play a factor in Crown's chances of winning here today. And as we come to 3 laps to go, time is quickly running out for Crown. Now, if Ross McTrain holds on to win here today, it'd actually be kind of fitting in a way, because his brother Dan McTrain back in the 2020 Golf Summer Series won the last time we were in the New York City area in the Dodge Motordrome. That was his first ever channel win, of course. If Ross does indeed hang on to win, it would be the second time someone in that family would get the first ever win in the New York City area. Now it's Kellen Baker getting inside of Crown. This could potentially end Crown's hopes of catching back up with McTrain, as Baker clears the 31 with ease, as he's now going to be side by side of Jack Haas. 2 laps to go this time by. So now with 2 lap cars behind McTrain, this is probably the worst case scenario for both Roberto, Crown, and Santa Vala, and barring a late race caution or something happening, their chances to win here today are pretty much toast. You know, down the back shoulder, we see Lipsy and Carruthers maintaining 4th and 5th respectively, with Kyle Sustry all over the back bumper of Carruthers, as he's looking to get back inside this top 5 before the end of the race. As down to 3, Baker was all over the back bumper of McTrain. He's going to move up high, with Jack Haas now side by side once again with the 21. Again, both these two are lap cars, while Crown is a lead lap driver trying to win this race, and if these two remain side by side, that could be the final nail in the coffin for Crown's chances to win. But of course, anything can still happen, as this time by we see the white flag. 1 lap to go here in the Meadowlands. Baker and Haas still side by side through turns 1 and 2, once again forcing Crown to the outside. Here's Santa Vala now, side by side with the 31 off turn number 2. And now with Crown and Santa Vala being side by side for second, this is going to essentially hand the win over to McTrain, providing if he can stay in one piece and make these last 2 treacherous corners. Off turn number 3, looks like Santa Vala actually got on Crown for second. As the dominant driver of the day, we'll have to settle with a 3rd place finish, while Santa Vala will finish second. But today, it is all about Ross McTrain, as off turn number 4 for the final time. In his 66th channel start, Ross McTrain will finally see the checker flag and win the Father's Day Classic here in the Meadowlands. 3 races down, and so far, all 3 races have produced first-time channel winners. And in fact, if you go back to last year's PSL finale at Minnesota, it's the 4th straight Palm Summit race in a row where we've seen a first-time channel winner. Definitely huge congratulations to Ross McTrain and that team here today. But before we see some burnouts, let's first look at the replay of McTrain's pit stop that ultimately gave him the win. So, of course, McTrain was part of that big group that came down pit road. It was probably the 3rd group because Royals and Crown were the first 2 drivers in. But that strategy did play out to McTrain's favor. Beats Crown and Santa Vala off pit road. And at that point, it was just basically smooth sailing for McTrain and the rest of that team, as both Crown and Santa Vala had to deal with lap traffic. And of course, once again, a big congratulations to Ross McTrain and McTrain Motorsports. They are winners for the 2024 John Deere Father's Day Classic at the Meadowlands. This is, of course, McTrain's first PSL and channel win, coming in his 66th channel start. But anyways, let's take a look at the finishing results and point standings after today's rather eventful race. So here we go. Ross McTrain was his first ever channel race here in the Meadowlands. His pit strategy was able to work out perfectly, especially as both Santa Vala and Crown, as previously mentioned, both had to deal with lap traffic. And speaking of those two drivers, they will finish second and third respectively, with Crown leading the most laps here today of 13 laps. Definitely really a tough race for Crown. He easily had probably the best car out of anyone today, was dominated pretty much the entire day. Probably had this race won, but unfortunately, pit strategy didn't quite work out in their favors, and the lap cars as well. So just tough, unfortunate break for Crown, but still a very good points day, as they came to this race well below the top 20 in the point standings. Moving on, the 9-car Lipsy in 4th is the highest finishing Relfan driver, while Brendan Cruthers in 5th. Very surprising finish from that team. Of course, Cruthers actually did get damaged during that big lap 2 crash and was relegated towards the back of the middle, if not the back of the pack, for most of the day. But a great pit strategy from that 20 team will give BM Racing their second straight top 5 finish after Bubbles' win last week at Las Vegas. A solid finish for Kyler Sustry as we finish 6th, while Brad Ream will finish 7th. Definitely much needed finish for the channel veteran. Also, and the same goes to be said for Johnny Hernandez in the 46th. Also a much needed finish for that team. Definitely much better improvement for that team after getting involved in a wreck during a first race at Tennessee and blowing an engine rather late at Las Vegas. Skylar Taylor, who was the last driver to come down pit road, will still come home with a solid 9th place finish. So their strategy didn't work out too bad. While Jason Albert in 84 will round off the rest of the top 10. Of course, Albert was in the lead at one point, actually was the leader coming to that restart. But unfortunately, during that said restart, got shuffled back, but still managed to finish this in the top 10. So still another good points day for the driver of the 84. And as for some of the drivers here, Jordan Stallion 11 cars, by far the highest finishing Pontiac in 11th, as today is a day that Pontiac definitely would like to forget, as their drivers are either involved in a lap 2 crash, or in the case of Kellen Baker, had that gear problem early on in the race that basically killed any chances of him even contending for the win here today. Daniel Voiles in yellow 1 tried to undercut everyone. He of course was the first driver to come down pit road, but unfortunately he came in towards the middle of the pack and will finish towards the middle of the pack here today. Some other driver, Dan Mateo also didn't have a good pit cycle as he finished 14th. Nick Sam finished 17th from the 40 car. Matthew Burnett, of course, also had an issue early on in the race where Rebound to finish 18th. Definitely could have been much worse for that 2 team, but still a very disappointing day for the GSS runner-up from a few years ago. While Dylan Matthews, who was inside the top 5, if not the top 10, for pretty much the entire race, will fall all the way down to 20th due to not only getting shuffled back throughout the race, but also a very, very bad pit cycle during the latter portion of this race. Moving to the ranking series, he bubble popped the winner from Las Vegas. She finishes 22nd. Very disappointing day for her. In fact, going into this race, there were only 3 drivers in the entire field that finished inside the top 10 during our first 2 races. That being Bubble, Dylan Matthews, and Matthew Hill. And unfortunately, with all of those drivers finishing below the top 10 here today, that will end that streak, with the highest finishing on all of them was the aforementioned Matthew Hill, who finished 15th. But as for the rest of the drivers below the top 20, Ryan Wilson finishes 23rd. Kellen Baker was the first car 1 lap down in 24th. And providing that gear issue never happened, Baker would have probably had a shot of winning here today, because he had a very strong car up front. And even in the end, when they got that gear problem somewhat fixed, got around multiple leaders with ease, but unfortunately it was just too little too late. Once Baker went a lap down and had that issue, there was nothing real much he could have done differently to get back into fight. And as for 26 on down, there are all the drivers that got taken out in that massive, massive lap number 2 crash. Madison Chase, Gutierrez, Phil Torres, defending series champion Beal, Random J, Nathan Stapleton, Anthony Hernandez, the pole sitter, Joe T, Caleb Rose is an absolutely miserable PSL season thus far. While Keyshawn Richardson, who of course finished inside the top 5 at Las Vegas, will end up dead last here today in the Meadowlands. And now for the point standings after race number 3, the halfway point here in the 2024 Palm Summer League, as well as the last point standings before Firecracker Week. And despite our disappointing run here today, Bubba Pop still maintains the points lead by the slimmest of margins over fellow rookie Matthew Hill, as only a single point separates those 2 drivers. Meanwhile, Dylan Matthews down to 4th point, still behind by 5, or Justin Albert's up to 5th in points, behind by 7. Riley Spurley now down to 6th in points, behind by 8. Kyler Sustry inside the top 10 for the first time here today, down behind by 11 points, actually tied with Brad Ream for that spot, but Sustry had the better finish over Ream. The same could also be said for Ross McTrain, today's winner, who's up to 9th in points. In fact, it's actually tied with Lipsy in the standings, but of course with McTrain's win, he'll have the advantage over the Railfan driver. So next time on this channel, we're going to kick off our 4th ever Firecracker Week, of course, to celebrate the 4th of July and to get ready for the summer's biggest race. It'll all start Wednesday, June 26th with 2 practice sessions for the Firecracker 400, while Saturday, June 29th at 8:45 Eastern Standard Time will be the WeatherTech Duels, which will not only set up the set rows 4 to 18 for the Firecracker 400, but also reward bonus points for the driver who leads the most laps and the top 3. And speaking of the top 3 in each dual race, they'll move on the following day on June 30th to set rows 1 to 3 for the Firecracker 400 Fast 6 qualifying, which will be very similar to IndyCar does their Fast 6 in their qualifying. Meanwhile, Tuesday, July 2nd will be a special NR2003 race at Daytona. I'm not going to really say too much about that race. I'm going to keep it a secret until July 2nd at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Well, of course, on Thursday, July 4th, on Independence Day, will be the running of the summer's biggest race, the Firecracker 400. And that race, as well as all these other exciting events on this channel, will be ones you do not want to miss. But as always, y'all, thank you guys for watching this race. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys next time.